TDS has gone through a lot throughout the years. I mean, look at this photo from 2019, and now look at this photo from 2024. These look like completely different games, and yet they are both from Tower Defense Simulator. TDS is over 5 years old, and the game has had its ups and downs. School project, John Roblox, blah blah blah, your tweet was unacceptable. I'm not gonna yap about TDS's history. Let's just get right to the essential question. Gosh, I sound like my 7th grade science teacher. Is TDS a dead game? I've seen many people say this a lot throughout the past year or so, which is why we're gonna look at the numbers. The people say that TDS has peaked in Frost Invasion and then it fell off afterwards. And while you know I have my opinions on Frost Invasion, I want to be unbiased here, so I'm not going to have any input on this and purely look at the numbers, despite my main argument being the actual devoted community itself over play accounts filled with noobs and one-off players. When going on roll mods and checking TDS's average player count in 2021, you'll see that TDS did peak in 2021. Yes, sadly it did. However, there's a twist in this situation. While this graph looks scary with the 93k players during 2021, TDS had a lot of hype due to the lack of updates. Actually, this lack of updates has caused TDS to explode whenever anything happened for pretty much the entire year. You can see this in action in Beaststorm Simulator, where the player count was around 10 to 15k before Beastmas. The only update the game gets each year, yes, us Beaststorm players actually go through this every year, stop complaining about weekly updates, ends up projecting the player count as high as over 100,000 players. And while money-wise, it would make constantly having to pay your employees extremely risky and maybe get a little illegal. For a solo developer like on it, that's perfect. Like the ultimate $100,000 something paycheck. Anyways, while the players of the past were a lot higher, including the average, however, only by 2 to 3k players, I think there's something else you might have to consider. Your time is over. It's Roblox the real winning time. TDS, like many games, relies on its community. And you know what is part of the community? YouTube! Whoa guys, it's me! I'm a YouTuber. Now forget what I said earlier. This isn't bias, this is a fact. Nutshell videos are low quality. And 50% of my viewers just unsubscribed, disliked, and left a hate comment. Objectively speaking, PNGs of TDS towers and enemies with text on a white screen belong in a slideshow. Not YouTube. Content at this time was terrible, to say the least. It was weird because while TDS was thriving from the outside, on the inside, there were bored players waiting for an update, crappy YouTubers pulling millions of views off slop content, no personal hate, I just think those videos don't deserve that much attention, and a lot of furries. Actually, the furries is still here. They're still lurking. Well, the player count for TDS was higher than it's ever been and probably ever will. TDS 2021 was such a bizarre situation because the game was pulling big numbers while seemingly everyone was not even enjoying the game like they used to. And actually, this is where people started talking about how 2019 was better, literally the only valid time for anybody to have that kind of opinion, and that the game was falling off. How ironic considering today's situation where people are blinded by nostalgia. If you open your eyes and try to remember the times that you're sad, stressed, or overwhelmed when you're younger, you realize that while back then there were less responsibilities, we still went through bad things. Kids have their own problems they deal with, you grow mental maturity and you grow past that stuff, and all that stuff that was added creates new kind of troubles until you probably retire. And if you don't, you become a hobo when you're 21 because you dropped out of high school to pursue YouTube just for it to fail a month later. And now you're begging for some spare shillings for a needy man in the middle of freaking Boston at 3:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. What was I talking about? Right. People may have peaked in, not people. TDS may have peaked in player count in 2021, but in terms of community, it is really peaking now. Think about it. There's so much more engagement than there ever has been before, and TDS is really changing for the better. Next time you hear someone talk about how TDS is a dead game, just tell them this. Is it a dead game, or is it a true memory of your childhood, the real thing that is dead? Okay, don't actually say that, but my point is that the player count is not the only thing that matters, but also the heart and soul of the game, the players themselves. I sound so cheesy saying that, oh my gosh. I swear I'm not a Redditor. The individual players matter a lot more than just the numbers that appear on the front page. To conclude this, and to end the debate once and for all, TDS is not a dead game.